It's green. Alright, can people hear me now? What do we got? Can I get confirmation you guys can hear me? I think I changed something. It's pretty clear I don't know what I'm doing here. Alright, looks like we're in. Looks like we're in. Alright. Alright, thanks guys for being here. Man, what a game. Were you guys as worried as I was? I was worried. I will say, I absolutely love this feeling of other teams take over the stadium just to leave in the third quarter. I'm enjoying that way more than I should. Would you prefer a hometown crowd? Yeah, but are we gonna get one? No. So we'll take what we can get. Oh man. All right, let's get into it. It looks like we're good to go. So man, that was kind of ugly. I thought that was a really ugly game. But you know, Justin Herbert got hurt and was able to get back in, so obviously it could be much worse. Right? Like, that could have been a much worse situation, and we're lucky that he only got out with, I mean, what was that? Like a broken finger or something? I mean, we saw what a broken finger did to him a few years ago. That gave me flashbacks. Him in the shotgun, almost every play. That was awful. To the point, I mean, we'll get into it, but it's to the point where I wish they kind of put Trey Lance in certain situations, but... you know, it is what it is. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? Give me your guys' thoughts. All right. There we go. Okay. So... Herbert got hit on his left hand, and you guys saw on the broadcast, he had all of that, like, that padding on his hands, and that was really, like, it was concerning. The guy on the I didn't see it, but the guy on the broadcast said that it was on his palm, too, and I'm wondering if that was a broken finger, because if that was if that actually was a broken finger, that's bad. And obviously, like, he had the fingers taped together, but, that was not good. At one point, Tier Tart went out, but he was able to come back in, and then I feel like he always does this. He leaves the game, and then he comes back and makes a great play. He, like, immediately got a pass breakup. I don't know what that was. Abdullah says, good win. They made adjustments in the second half. Yeah, that was one of the things I'm worried about. I was worried about, because I don't feel like we saw a lot of second half adjustments this season, but this one was, like, such a clear, like, you know exactly what you need to change, and they did. So I was reasonably happy about that. Hey, we got a visitor. This side. We got a visitor. It felt, I don't know, maybe this is my bias. Correct me if I'm wrong. It felt to me like the Raiders were going out of their way to smack him in the hand. I don't generally think, like, obviously the Raiders don't have a good reputation. I haven't, like, in the last few years especially thought of them as a dirty team. They come across more as, like, emotional and undisciplined, but not, like, targeted bad. Not, like, Sean Payton kind of bad, you know what I mean? But it felt at times like they were going out of their way to avoid the ball and smack him in the hand. I don't know. Maybe that's my bias showing. Non-throwing hand was affecting handoffs. Yeah, that frightened me. I kind of wish they put Trey Lance in. I didn't love that. I don't know. I don't love all the timeouts the Chargers are taking. It feels like we're taking a lot of timeouts when we don't need to. I will say there absolutely is an exception to that. In the red zone, when you saw one-on-one versus Brock Bowers and you see Geno Smith look over to him and then snap the ball, you're like, oh my God, yeah, call timeout. We know exactly what's going to happen. And it's exactly what happened. That would have been a touchdown. Obviously, you know, the outcome wasn't great anyways, but that was one where I was like, yeah, you call a timeout on that. But it seems like this happens too many times in a game. I'm surprised, Abdullah says, I'm surprised they didn't put Trey Lance or Conklin in for a sneak. I don't think they trust Tyler Conklin, but I do think if Will Dissly was active, they put him in and they do a sneak. That's something we've seen before, even when Herbert's been healthy. And again, I don't understand why he's not active, because I think in the future he might be for that specific purpose, but yeah, Trey Lance absolutely should have been in, and we'll get into that. That pass interference call on Troy Dye after that play I was just talking about with Brock Bowers, that was so frustrating, man. It was like, come on, man, you just defend the play. You know what they're gonna do. They're gonna throw it to Brock Bowers. Just defend the play. You know, have some trust in yourself. That it feels like Troy Dye gets so close to being right there. You know, he gets so close to being right there, and then he just isn't. I don't know. It's so frustrating. You know, he's so close to being a really good linebacker. He does stuff like that, but it is what it is. You know, yeah, just frustrating. I know that there's a lot of talk about like missed tackles on the Chargers defense, and I totally get it, but that's also Ashton Jeanty, right? Like, that's kind of what he does. Yeah, the Chargers didn't look good about it, but it is what he's good at, right? Like, that's why he was so great in college, is like, it didn't matter where you touched him. You could touch him behind the line and he can still break it. I thought they did a good job early, but there were a lot of missed tackles late. So let's take a quick look at the box score. Geno Smith, 18 for 23, 165 yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 in. Yeah, it's not great. It's not horrible. Geno Smith honestly played better than he has been of late. I think that Greg Olsen came in with a better plan than Chip Kelly has been. To no one's surprise. The changes they needed to make were pretty obvious. Get the ball in your best player's hand. Actually involve Jack Betch. You invested a second-round pick in him. Of course, all these teams figure out what adjustments they need to make when they're playing against the Chargers, but can't say it didn't work out. Justin Herbert, 15 of 20, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 in. Again, not great, but he probably has a broken finger. I'm glad that he's upright. That's fine. That of all the things we're concerned about, Justin Herbert is not one of them. Obviously, Kamani Vidal had a great game. We'll get into that in a second. Ashton Jeanty, 15 carries for 31 yards. That is story of the defense, right? That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. I didn't think he had, like, particularly bad judgment or was just, you know, taking bad gaps or whatever. I thought he was fine. There was just nothing he could do, man. It was just frustrating. Yeah, good game from the defensive line. I 100% agree. And, you know, Thule had a great game. Mac always has a great game against the Raiders. every Raiders game, he always does. So the Raiders, I do think Geno Smith is a pretty bad quarterback on the Raiders. It's worth noting he was an average quarterback last year, right? Like, when they made that trade, he was decent. And I don't know, man. Even on the plays where pressure's not getting to him, he looks kind of rough. That third down on his first drive, he threw it right into Thule's hands to a receiver. He threw it to Jeanty. Jeanty was covered, you know, and I know Jeanty can make one guy miss, but if there's anything the Chargers are good at, it's like swarming to the ball. Like, their missed tackles didn't cost them a whole lot, even though that's what Ashton Jeanty's great at, just because, you know, that they're covering every single time. They always have each other's backs, and I don't know. I think he would have been so much better off, like, deliberately throwing the ball into the ground sooner, because it was nothing good was going to happen on that play. But I don't know. Like I said earlier, the Raiders play so undisciplined when they're fired up. Like, when things aren't going well, they fall apart, you know. And like I said, they made good adjustments, getting the ball to Brock Bowers as much as possible, getting the ball to Ashton Jeanty as much as possible, but I think they should have run outside more. Like you guys are saying, the defensive line did great, and I think when the defensive line is doing great, test the rest of the defense. You know, they made some of the others miss. They made the linebackers look foolish sometimes. Let's like test them, but for whatever reason they didn't do that. But I don't know. Max Crosby, man, he gets after Justin Herbert, but he is such a waste of talent on the Raiders, man. Such a waste of talent. I don't get it. Him and Myles Garrett, I'm like, why are you wasting your talent on these teams that don't deserve you, don't support you, don't back you up, and are not going to be good while you're in your prime? I don't know. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. And I would find that insanely frustrating if I were them. Say hi to the cat, by the way. Just trust me, he's purring. All right, buddy. Yeah, Max Crosby, he looked so happy to get like a tackle for loss with like 10 minutes left or 4 minutes left and they're down by 10. I don't know. You can't say he doesn't fit in with the Raiders culture of being undisciplined when you're down and giving up stupid penalties. Like, and it's not, he doesn't even hate Herbert. They're like, not friends, but like they respect each other. And he's still just doing these stupid penalties, man. I don't know. Shout out to Herbert for getting fired up. And imagine what we would look like if we had Max. Yeah, man. I mean, imagine what Max Crosby, he could have been the Micah Parsons trade. He could have been on the Packers right now. He could be on a real team. Like, there are so many teams that would trade the house for him. And he insists on still, I don't know. I don't get it, but I love to see the Raiders waste what they have. So, I want to get into this game. I want to start on special teams. Then get into everything else. So, did you guys notice that Cameron Dicker was the one who made that tackle on that first, the opening kickoff? What's going on there? Why is Cameron Dicker, why is Cameron Dicker always making these tackles? I mean, shout out to him, right? He's great. He has a lot of fun, but what's going on there? You know, I don't know. Don't love the tackle cover, the return coverage, and Thule made a good return tackle, but I'm looking at that and I'm like, well, next year Thule shouldn't be one of the guys making those tackles, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't see that as a good sign that he's a big part of their game. You know, obviously that play with Benjamin St-Juste not getting away from the ball and getting hit and almost giving the Raiders the ball in the red zone was bad, but that's on Darius Davis. Like, he should have been redirecting him and like saying, hey, the ball's going over here, like however they communicate that. And that, you know, his head was in the clouds. He was like, oh, I'm not catching it, so I don't have to do anything. You know, that, not a great sign. I did think Darius Davis had a good game overall. He had a couple good run backs, and he had a good return to start the second half. He looked more decisive, you know, like he looked a little, I don't know. He looked a little rough out there, but, you know, I still, his head's not in it. I don't know. Something's not there. Not a big fan of that. But I do think, you know, he looks better after the bye, which you love to see, and I think that reflects well on Ryan Ficken. And that's what we wanted to see, right? Like, I think after the bye is a good time to evaluate coaches. And, you know, look, guys, the Chargers have the same record as the Colts. They have the same record as the Colts. Okay, I wrote that down, but that sounds fake. Like, I gotta double check that. It's true. That's insane. That's insane. Lost their best two players on offense other than the quarterback, and they're still, man, it's just insane. Darius Davis also had a decent punt return. Like I said, looks more decisive, but I think the defense was probably the most exciting part of this. Like, that part of it to me is like, you know, you have Thule with the pass breakup. He had a sack lined up against the interior. I don't know what it is. When Thule goes against guards, he's just unstoppable. And then he had that half sack with Khalil Mack. Great stop from Thule on the fourth down at the end of the third. He had a great game. I mean, he has not stopped developing since he got to the league. I hope the Chargers can get someone amazing across from him next year. You know, I'm going to assume Khalil Mack's going to retire. He's got to eventually, right? Right? I mean, hey, I guess if Chargers, they don't win a Super Bowl this year, he's going to want to be back. I don't know if it'll be with the Chargers. I don't know. But they got to get Thule some help there because he looks awesome. And Khalil Mack, we knew that Khalil Mack would have a great game, right? He always has a great game against the Raiders, his former team. He hates them, man. I don't get the impression he hates the Bears that much. But, yeah, he hates them. And I think he would have gotten that sack that Thule got. He was just like half a second too late, but he pushed that tackle all the way into the quarterback. Like that was like watching high school tape when you see someone who's like twice the size as the poor kid in front of them, and you're like, this isn't fair. That was just awesome. That was absolutely awesome. I feel like it happens every play. Like, he's always crushing the pocket. Denzel Perryman had a great tackle against Ashton Jeanty. I mean, Jeanty was doing everything he can, but Jeanty was trying to be shifty and, like, make people miss with finesse. And that's just not going to work with Denzel Perryman, because Denzel Perryman's not waiting to see what your feet are doing. He's running downhill and just hitting you hard. I think we need to be looking at getting a Denzel Perryman replacement for next year, because that's so important to this team, man. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate anyone who's watching this after the fact. Gonna put that VOD up. So if you guys gotta head out, I understand. And I love seeing Jesse Minter rush Derwin James. That's something we've talked about. It's like, Derwin James, like, he kind of feels off this year. Doesn't feel like he's either at 100% or he's just not on the same page as everyone. Let him rush the passer, and he is just in his element. And Geno Smith tried to get away, but he grabbed the jersey, and just no chance, man. Absolutely no chance. That was great. Tony Jefferson's interception, did not see him coming. The angle of the broadcast just did not let you see him coming, and the wherewithal to lean back and make sure his knees are the part of his body hitting the ground so he could stay in bounds was insane. That was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. Which you love to see. It's crazy how much effort we get from guys who are, not on the field, not even... I mean, Tony Jefferson was a healthy scratch a few times for R.J. Mickens. I know Mickens had a few, rough games, but I don't know. I think it speaks well to Tony Jefferson that, he goes up and makes all these plays. I don't know. The one frustrating thing about the defense in this game was back to the Chargers giving up timeouts that they don't need to. I don't love the timeout on defense where they run a no huddle and then suddenly it's a timeout. It feels like every time a team runs a no huddle, there's a timeout right away, and I don't understand what that weakness is, or why. I don't know what goes into that. Why are they not more comfortable against a no huddle? And part of that is not every personnel is out there in every situation, but it's also you got to be able to handle that. It can't. If I were playing the Chargers, I would run a no huddle all the time, because if you can get them in these situations where they don't have timeouts, that they're gonna mess up and they're gonna have to give up a couple timeouts. I don't know. I don't love that, and that's. I don't know. That's on Jesse Minter, right? That's not on the players. Although I will say, right after the Chargers did that, the Raiders immediately cost themselves a timeout, and Geno Smith was acting like he just had all the time in the world. That's the smallest Black Panther I've ever seen. Yeah, that's him. That's him. Come here. Here he is. What was I saying? I thought the defense overall did a good job stopping Ashton Jeanty early. We saw the statistics. He's averaging 2 yards a carry. That's not easy to do. I know that the offensive line isn't good, but it's just with all the missed tackles too, for the team to have each other's back like that. I think that's a reflection of Minter, and I think it's really paying off. Even when guys make a bad play, the next play, they're right there to back up their teammates. I think that reflects well on them. And as much as it's I want the defense to be able to make those tackles, I think it's a case of they just don't really have the personnel for that. They have to put out their best guys in coverage sometimes, and that is what it is. But you can't say that the defense doesn't play physical. They don't play fast. Like, they're doing that. They've been better at that. I mean, in I would say the last 3 games. There were definitely frustrating things about the defense. Leaving Brock Bowers wide open in the red zone should never happen. That's entirely inexcusable. He's back. It's entirely inexcusable, right? Like, that's... If you were game planning for the Raiders for a week, what would you do? You'd throw the ball to Brock Bowers on every third down, every red zone play, like, every opportunity. He is by far their best receiver. I don't understand that. And it's not just, like, put Derwin on him every time, but that's also not enough, right? Like, Derwin isn't playing well enough this year for that to be enough, unfortunately. Like, they need a better plan, and it seemed like they were ready to make that adjustment, and then Troy Dye gets a pass interference called in the end zone. Inexcusable. It was awful. Elijah Molden, he had a really up and down game. He got a huge hit on Dante Thornton. Was awesome, right? Like, just excellent, like, playing fast, playing physical, tackling, like, bigger than his size. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has that quality, and then he gets a stupid penalty, or then he runs downhill so fast, but it's like, you're in open field. If you miss a tackle, like, the guy gets momentum, he gets a lot of yards, you know, but they got him for a 7th round pick, and that's what you have to remember, right? Like, the defense is consistently outplaying their roster, and that reflects well on Jesse Minter. That's all you can ask of Jesse Minter. It's just, I don't know, if we could get consistency out of Elijah Molden, I think the secondary would look a lot better. Cam Hart, overall a good game, but not touching Jack Betch so he can punch the ball instead of preventing a first down. What are we doing? Like, come on, man, have some focus. A turnover isn't the point. You're winning. You need to win downs. You need to burn the clock. You need, like, if somebody's down, you take the down. You know, that was frustrating. I know he's young. Cam Hart, like, all these corners, they're all young. It's just, I don't know. It was just frustrating. Yeah, the defensive line they were the highlight of this game to me. I will say, I'm a little bit, like, every time I see Bud Dupree get a sack, I'm like, oh God, what's his celebration going to be? This is going to be so embarrassing. And sure enough, he was doing, like, a stomping thing. I'm like, what are you? It's like he panics because he's like, oh, I didn't expect to get this sack. That sounds mean, but you guys, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I don't know, man. I'm just not a fan. Not a fan of that at all. All right, let's talk about the offense. How are we feeling about the offense? How are we feeling about Greg Roman's play calling? I'm not thrilled with it. I like the opening drive. I love the opening drive. That Jared Patterson looked really good. I like that they're trusting him. I like that they're going to him more than once. You know, obviously they kind of have to, and they want to preserve Kamani Vidal because if they didn't have him going into next week, it's over. I know Justin Herbert had a rough interception. He did hit some tight throws through good coverage. I thought the Raiders' coverage was better than it normally is. You know, even when everyone knows it's going to Keenan, he still can get it to Keenan. You know, and then the Raiders learn from that, right? And then he can get it to Gadsden. He gets it to Ladd. QJ got involved. I loved seeing QJ get involved. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes in the last few weeks is QJ's barely touching the ball. I want him in there, you know, and I do think, back to that interception, if Herbert could go under center, they get a touchdown there. You know, they want to run the ball up the middle, and they can't. And even so, like, I don't love the play that they called. Like, if they're going to do shotgun and throw a pass, that, I don't know, didn't love the route. I thought it was ugly. But if, you know, putting your defense out there in field position, like getting an interception on, like, the 2-yard line, obviously it's not great because you could have gotten points, but if they had failed on that play, like not an interception, I would have wanted them to go for it on 4th down, right? Like I want them to treat that as 4-down territory. But at the same time, it's like, you know, if they went for it on 4th down and they didn't get it, I'd be like, It's still a good play call, right? Turnover on downs is what it is. You're going to get another shot. And that's kind of effectively what that interception was, right? It's uglier and it looks worse in the stat line, but I understand kind of an all or nothing approach when you're in that territory. It's just, to me, it's like, we shouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Put Trey Lance in there and then run it up the middle. Like, you want to run it up the middle anyways. And if you're saying like, oh, that's too predictable, great, run it up the middle this time. Run it up the middle again, and then you know this situation is going to come up later. That's when you can do a play action, and you can set up something better. You know what I mean? I thought that was crazy. Like, what? Set it up so that Trey Lance is in third and short situations, or fourth and short situations, or goal line situations, and then it's like, oh, they want to run it up the middle, they're going to run it up the middle. It's okay to fail at that once, because you know the situation is going to come up again, and you're setting up the play action. It was right there. It was right there. It reminds me of a couple years ago when Brandon Staley, like, effectively got Herbert's finger broken because the play wasn't just like a tush-push kind of play. It wasn't just a QB sneak kind of play. It was jump over the line and stick your hands out and let them just smack your hands and try to smack the ball. Yeah, his finger broke. Like, no one was shocked, right? I don't know. I don't want him in those situations when he's already hurt. I don't like it. That was uncomfortable. I understand you're not necessarily going to have a game plan for that situation, but you cannot risk Justin Herbert's health against the Raiders. You have to trust that you can beat the Raiders with some other merit than Justin Herbert being a hero, right? Doesn't make sense to me. Thomas Jones says, Roman's play calling is decent, then he makes some boneheaded play calls and we go 4-0. Yeah, that's the thing. The ceiling of Greg Roman is great. We saw that in the first few games of the year. We saw that. I mean, we've seen that with Kamani Vidal. I think you have to give Greg Roman some credit for Kamani Vidal being able to adjust and grow and look so good after getting so little last year, after being cut this year, right? Like, he started out cut. You know, and the fact that he's that successful, I got to give Greg Roman some credit for that. But why is it so inconsistent? You know, it just feels like he can be really good, but only after he learns his lesson, when we're all sitting there like, but you have this other option. You know, I don't love it. Don't love it. But we do have to call we do have to call out that Kamani Vidal is so amazing, so physical. He does not need to break all these tackles, but he does. Like, he could just run into contact and fall over, get an extra yard, and call it a day, and he would be a good running back. That 8-yard run when Trey Lance came in was insane. That should have been like 2 yards, maybe 3 yards. But he gets a decent block, takes off, can't get tackled. I don't know, man. I thought Kamani Vidal would be good. I thought he would be on the field this year. I didn't think that we would have what we do. 59-yard touchdown to start the second half. That was his career long. And I'm sure you guys saw, like, when they did the replay, Trey Lance blocked a guy into his teammate. Trey Lance got another double block. Like, how many times are we going to see that this year? It was crazy. I don't know, man. That was insane. That was absolutely insane. Kamani Vidal is just excellent. Just absolutely excellent, man. Love to see it. At one point they said 9 missed tackles. I think that's what the broadcast said. That was in the third quarter. 9 missed tackles by the third quarter. That's crazy. That's crazy. He's so good, man. And the Raiders are good against the run. That's generally the thing that their defense can hang their hat on, is like, well, we know you're going to have to pass it because we're good at the run. And that wasn't the case today. You know? It wasn't the case. The opening drive took most of the first quarter. It was like, I want to say, about 10 minutes? A 10-minute, like that. The time of possession split was crazy. That's crazy. And this is how Harbaugh wants to win. So it's nice to see that they can execute that when Kamani Vidal is on. And when Hampton's back, man, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be great. But yeah, back to the play calling. The lack of check down options for Herbert is so frustrating. He does not have any easy options. You know, I want him to have check down options even on like 3rd and long where you're like, well, there's no point in throwing short. But to me, I'm like, Quentin Johnson, really good after the catch. Ladd McConkey, inconsistent, but really good after the catch. Trey Harris, really good after the catch. You know, I think Kamani Vidal can be really good after the catch. So we have all these guys good after the catch. Why don't we have a check down option? Sure, you'd always rather throw the ball at the sticks or farther, but that's better than him taking these hits, man. I don't like it. I don't understand. I look at look at any great offense. They always have checkdowns. Any great quarterback, any quarterback who's considered like a top 5 quarterback, they always have checkdown options so that they don't have to take really bad plays. And then that makes their good plays look really good, and it decreases their number of interceptions, it decreases their sacks, because then it's just a tackle for loss if it goes badly, or it's an incomplete pass. Great. So what? You live to play another down. I don't understand why we don't have easy buttons, man. I don't get it. Herbert with a hurt hand cut our playbook in half. Yeah, it did. When you can't go under center, that's gonna just completely cut off your run game. That sucks. I mean, I liked seeing that they did a pitch outside, but then you see Justin Herbert like throwing it like just with his left hand, and you're like, well, that's a big risk. That's a big risk for a 5-yard play. I don't know. It's not good. I'm curious how bad it is. Like, he was able to finish the game, but is he going to be able to... What's the playbook look like next week, you know, against a much tougher defense? Because the Raiders' defense can be tough, but they're not the Eagles. They are not the Eagles. You know, I wish it were the opposite. I wish the Eagles had a crazy offense and the defense was their problem, because it's not looking good for Herbert. It's not looking good for Herbert and his health. I don't like it. I don't know. I just wish, give Herbert a tight end. Give Herbert a running back. Like, let him just chip and then be open right away. You know, I don't understand why that's not there. To me, that should be automatic, right? Like that no excuse for that to me. Jared Patterson looked really good. I thought he was solid up the middle to start the game. Obviously had that great breakout run in the third quarter. He looked good all day. It's hard to say, right, because we know Kamani Vidal can be really good, but Jared Patterson hasn't been amazing. He's been fine for those short yardage situations and as a changeup for Kamani Vidal, but, you know, he had so many broken tackles and was able to get so many extra yards. You know, it's hard to say if that is on the Raiders being kind of bad, right? But he shed so many blocks behind the line. Just like the Raiders, just like Ashton Genty, the Chargers running backs were dealing with contact behind the line. They 100% were, right? So, I don't know. That's one of those things that you got to give both Kamani Vidal and Jared Patterson a lot of credit for. So, I love to see it. I love this running back room. This running back room is so good. And that's crazy considering running back number 1 and running back number 3 are out. Obviously, Amarian Hampton, 1A, is out too. But Hassan Haskins is out. He would have been in those Jared Patterson situations, right? Like, that would have been all him. Yeah, great breakout run in the third quarter. I think he had his career-long run too. I don't know, he runs so hard. All these running backs run so hard. And draining the clock to start the game is such a good feeling, man. Effectively, the defense is, the defense in the fourth quarter is basically in their third quarter, right? Like, they have only been on the field effectively for, you know, nowhere near as much time. And I don't know, that's a big deal. Justin Herbert broke his hand. QB1 is out. Is that confirmed? I think it is. I don't know. We'll look back at that. But, yeah, it's frustrating. If the Chargers don't have Herbert next. See, this is why when people say, like, oh, other teams have such bad injury luck, I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't, man. Justin Herbert has a break in his hand and will have surgery tomorrow, Coach Jim Harbaugh said. Harbaugh wasn't sure if Herbert would miss time. Man, okay. If Justin Herbert has a broken hand, which he does, and he gets surgery, and he plays next week, build the statue. That's insane. Let him sit, man. I know the game against the Eagles is really important. I know that AFC is kind of, like, in some ways it fell in the Chargers' direction with the Chiefs losing. I mean, the Texans won, and it didn't all go the Chargers' direction. But I don't know, man. I don't love Justin Herbert coming off a surgery next week. It's not good. That's not good. I don't know. I like Trey Lance. He's a former first-round pick for a reason. But some of you guys are complaining about Justin Herbert's interceptions. Got bad news about Trey Lance. Got bad news about why Trey Lance is a backup. You know? I think he looks better than he did on previous teams, but it's not good. Not a good situation. There's a few more good things on the offense. I thought Jamari Sawyer actually played well enough. It seemed like, to me, he played well enough that he's going to be left tackle the rest of the season, as long as he's healthy, right? And unfortunately, we do have to kind of assume that he's not going to be healthy the rest of the season, because no offensive lineman has managed to be healthy this whole season, except for, he who will not be named in the middle. Rondé Gadsden had a few really good routes. He had a really great read against it, like a soft zone coverage. I think that was part of the reason the Raiders kind of tightened it up as they went, because they kind of looked around like, well, we can't cover all these guys, right? What surprised me, the Raiders should have been blitzing. If I were playing against the Chargers, I'd be rushing 5 most of the time, and on second and long, first and 10, I might even be rushing 6. I don't understand not running more than that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know that they have a lot of good receivers, but to me it's like, exactly, you can't cover everyone. Just rush the passer. But I don't know. The Eagles are probably we're gonna have to see that next week. But Trey Harris looks like he's coming along great. He and Herbert look right in step. I feel like he's getting better every week. Ladd with the touchdown, so many receivers. It's like Ladd wasn't even that involved in the game. It's just hard to cover them all. Right, you just can't cover them all. And that, to me, was what that was. So, I'm glad that Ladd and QJ both got opportunities to remind the league of who they are. Like, on a lot of teams, each of them is wide receiver 1, and it's just because the Chargers have such a crowded room that they're not. He's back. Here he is. I will say, Herbert should have gotten roughing the passer on the throw. It was such a dirty play from the Raiders. The Raiders get so undisciplined when they're losing, man. It's just, I don't know. I hate that stuff. I hate that stuff. That Sean Payton stuff that it looks like they're doing. It's not really that, right? Like, it's a different situation. They're upset that they're like 2-10 or 2-9 or whatever, and it is what it is. But didn't love that. I will say about Greg Roman, because I know that's what we're frustrated with, that's what we're thinking about. The good plays are in there. That pop pass to Trey Harris for the first down on a third down toward the end, I love the play call. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of that, more reverses. I think it's scary because you don't want to get into a second and long, third and long situation, because then Herbert has to drop back and pass. But, and I know he's hurt, but like, you're having him pass sometimes anyways. And sometimes those plays are going to break big, and it means that anytime you run to the outside, they have to be ready for a reverse. They can't, that outside linebacker who sometimes, or the outside edge who chases down Vidal or chases down, I mean, Vidal and Hampton are patient backs. We need to not have them being chased from behind. We could be setting that up. I don't know, why are the best play calls reserved for the least important things? Right? Like that, I don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, a win's a win, right? That was a good win. That was a decisive win, right? 31-14. That's what you want. Send all the Raiders fans back home and, walk away with a win. It sucks that the price that it came at. I kind of wish they, like I said, used Trey Harris a bit more, let Justin Herbert kind of take that break, but it is what it is. He broke his hand. We were going to have to deal with that next week anyways, so... we were pretty efficient on third downs. Yeah, this was a fantastic third down game. I'm really glad you said that, because this was one of the best third down games that the Chargers have had. It felt like every time the defense got the Raiders defense got any momentum, it was just completely out. That was it. So I'd love to see that, because the Chargers defense are one of the best in the league. I think the best statistically. I don't know after this weekend, but going into this week, I believe they were the best statistically at third downs. That's such a huge swing in their favor. It's such a huge swing. Right? And that's something, if you can do that on both sides of the ball, you become like an exhausting team to play against. It's like, okay, we got a good stop on first down. We got a good stop on second down. First down again. Okay, we have to do it again. So if they can keep putting that together, that'd be huge. It's just like, remember when Greg Roman first got hired and they were like, what's your third down plan? And he was like, yeah, but what if we got into third down situations less? That's kind of the, that's the part we're worried about, right? It's the other half. Don't love it. But look, I'm gonna wrap this up by answering a few questions, but final notes on this game. There are so many upsets that are happening every week. Texans beat the Colts. I know it's not too big of an upset. Their defense is crazy. But let's be real, the Colts were one of the, AFC Championship favorites, like, at this point. And, the Jaguars are now number 1 in the South. The Rams, the best team in the NFL, just lost to the Panthers. Anything could happen. And this win was huge. Absolutely anything could happen the rest of the year, especially in the AFC. It used to be a few years ago, like, the AFC was such a tough conference to deal with, and they were the tough ones, right? All the top quarterbacks were there. It's like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Mahomes, and all that, and even the next tier of quarterbacks who hadn't won Super Bowls, but were still, like, up there. Like, you have Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and all that. And now this year, it kind of feels like the NFC is like, they're the tougher division, right? Or the conference. And that's a good position for us to be in, right? You want to be in the easier conference, right? Like, there's a reason Tom Brady went to the South, right? There's a reason he went where he went. An easier path to victories is huge. And I think that's what the Chargers have in the AFC. Any kind of upsets can happen. I know the Eagles are next, and they look really tough, and they are. They just lost to the Bears, and the Bears gave us the blueprint. They did. Watch, if you want some hope going into that Eagles game, watch their game last week, because the Bears ran all over them, and I know Kamani Vidal is inconsistent, but we will have Hampton back. So I'm curious what you guys think we can expect from him, and I don't know. There's reason to hope here. I'll be back to preview that, but I'm excited, man. I'm excited. That being said, I'm going to answer some questions that I got throughout the week, because I know some of those people are going to watch this back. It was division game 2. Yeah. Chargers are great in their division. You can't say they're not great in their division, and they have division games left. I know the Broncos game looks tough. It's going to be, but they always have a shot, right? If Herbert's healthy, I'll say that. If Herbert's healthy, they have a shot. And he's getting some kind of surgery, and we're going to hope for the best. So, I don't know. Okay, so some questions I got this last week. So I've been making those draft videos, and a lot of people are asking about what the Chargers' overall plan is, what that looks like, and I know that there's still time left. That's why I'm not doing mock drafts. I feel like mock drafts in November that's a losing game. That's probably more January territory. Unless you guys really want that. But someone asked, are there any good tackles available since Slater may not be ready at the beginning of next year? And there will be good free agents, but the problem with free agents is they always have drawbacks. Some of them have injury histories. Look at Mekhi Becton. Some of them are great on one side of the ball and not great on the other. Look at Zion Johnson. He's great in the run game, and pass pro is like, would you be this good if you had great players around you and then you were the one getting targeted by pass rushers? I don't know. I think people look at this line and they would just rather attack Bozeman, right? And frankly, I don't blame them. That's what I'd be doing too. But I think the Chargers have, the Chargers just don't have the number of draft picks that they would need to be able to afford to pick a backup lineman. What they could do is take a guard that plays tackle as well. And there's a lot of those. There's a lot of tackles who are going to be drafted by teams who want them to play guard. And I think the Chargers could very much be one of them. I just don't love a rookie starting who we actually want to play in the interior, especially with how Justin Herbert is, man. I don't know, man. What do you think of Josh Kaltenberger, the practice squad center? Yeah, if he were good or versatile, he would have gotten chances, but he can't beat out Andre James as the backup. That, not someone you should take hope in. Obviously, Bradley Bozeman playing is beyond reason, but, you know, he can't even surpass Andre James, so that's not even a conversation, you know? Are Spencer Fano and Francis Mauigoa in the Chargers draft range? They shouldn't be, unless one of them gets hurt. If one of them gets hurt, they could be. Both should be gone, which is why I haven't talked about them. Plus, to me, they're both tackles. I hope we can grab Poncho. Yeah, that'd be awesome. It would be awesome if we could get Poncho, but the Chargers are not the only team who are looking for a center. They're not the only team looking for an interior offensive lineman. It's just like so many teams need offensive linemen, especially as running the ball becomes more and more in style, if you will. So many teams are like, well, then we have to get great offensive linemen. And everyone's realizing this at once, and that's it, right? Let's go Commanders. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't see how they could win, but I hope they do. Will Slater play tackle or guard on which side? So Slater's going to play tackle. He's way overpaid to play guard. But I don't know what side. He's paid too much to be a guard. You can't get the contract that he got and then play guard. He has to work at tackle. Now, if they go half a season and it's just terrible, yeah, they might move him into guard. But he has to work at tackle, and I think he will. Even if he goes from being like all pro to just above average, that's fine. That's fine. After what we're seeing this year, we'll take that. That's fine. It is too early to know which side he's going to play on. Both guys are coming off injuries. If you're up to me, like, put, like, egos and team dynamics aside, I would put Joe Alt on the left. I think he has the ceiling to be better than Rashawn Slater. There's a reason that Joe Alt was looked at as a generational prospect. Rashawn Slater was looked at very highly, but Joe Alt, like, he's on a different level. He can do what Rashawn Slater does, and he has better traits. He's really young. He's still growing. I would put him on the left, but how does Slater handle that? What does that do to the room? Like, can Slater, at this point in his career, switch back over? It's not as simple as just do what you do, but on the other side. You know, you're pushing off of a different leg. You have a different hand on the outside. It's a completely different sport. As you guys can see, my cat is getting frustrated because it's his dinner time, and we need to feed him soon. So he thinks it's time to climb on the shelves. Is what it is. What are you gonna do? Yeah, just irresponsible. Do you think there's a chance of trading down for an extra pick? Is there enough talent that teams would want to? Yeah, there is. If they want to, they can. They may not get a huge haul for it, but I think the late first round would be a great time for teams who want an edge rusher, a defensive tackle, a linebacker. I think this wide receiver class has started to really come online in the last few games, and a lot of them are going to be in the playoffs. So I think even the wide receivers who don't have amazing traits, a lot of them have pushed themselves into first round contention. You know, and the Chargers need to trade down there or in the second round. One of them, right? Like, that's the reality. Same with the dog. Yeah, they're selfish. Like, what are you going to do? He's selfish. He's just a selfish guy. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys for being here. I will be posting a recap of this game because I do want to rewatch the film and see what there is to, you know, take away from it when we really look into it. Because, like I said, that this is a good opportunity to learn, like, what did our coaches, like, take away at the bye, right? Like, what was important to them, and what do they think needed to change, and how effective was it? So, like I said, anything can happen, especially in the AFC, but hey, the Chargers have the same record as the Colts. We can be happy about that. They have the same record as the Colts, man. O-line and D-line is Bolt's pick in the draft. They need to be. Yeah, they need to be. I don't know when. I don't know what rounds. But, yeah, 100%. They arguably also need a linebacker. They need, you know, some depth at safety. That's probably more of a free agency situation than anything else. But yeah, they have front-loaded their efforts to get receivers, and that's great. And now they need trenches. And the good news is it's a decent year to need trenches, right? Like it's not a bad year for that. Good D-tackle draft. I'll be getting into the defensive tackles later this week. But thanks, guys, for being here. Really appreciate you guys. I know it's mostly subscribers who have been hanging out, so appreciate you guys if you've been hanging out now or if you're watching this later. I'm hoping that this is something I can do most weeks if I'm available. So